Space Vidcast. No, it's not Space Vidcast. Tomorrow after dark. Because it's always dark. Dang it.
Take two.
Take two. I'm not gonna lie, this show is way worse without Carrie Ann. Every time we don't have her, I do not like this show. Not Mike, you did great. Doug and everyone else did great, but when I had to do like the solo comment section in Space News, I do not like that. There's no energy to feed off of from the other side. Mike, by the way, thank you for staying with us and
yeah, no problem.
Doing that show. Do you really think that Virgin's not going to be able to recover?
No, not necessarily. I do think that they will fly again, but it's going to be very different, I think, than what any of us are imagining. I mean, they are, I think, almost done with their Voyager. And actually, I just thought of something that's kind of nerdish, but kind of cool. If they really build the Enterprise, are they going to call it the Enterprise A?
They should.
Only if the serial number is 1701.
That would be awesome. But on a serious note, I mean, I think that they still do need to do some work on the plastic fuel version of their rocket engine and probably a couple other things with that, but I do think they will move forward with that. However, I think that the key to saving Virgin Galactic and scaled composites is if they really push forward with Launcher 1. Remember Launcher 1?
Yeah.
If they are able to do that, because that's supposed to be all liquid, or the Launcher 1 anyway, and if they're successful with that and can start launching small satellites or clusters of CubeSats or whatever, if they can get that going, then I think that that will restore the faith and allow the public as well as the customers who have bought in tickets to give Virgin Galactic a couple more years to see if they can get Spaceship Two back on track. Because it's going to be a couple of years.
Yeah, oh yeah. I think it's going to be, at least, they're not going to be, I don't think they're going to be able to start much for the next year while the NTSB does their investigation, because they have facts, but they don't have cause yet. And you need cause. You really do. And then after that, then they need to incorporate anything they learn from that. They need to incorporate into the vehicle, and that takes time too, because you need to re-engineer that, and that's an all-carbon composites vehicle. So changes, you don't just go in and add a what am I trying to say, a doubler. Stringer, thank you. I'm like, the thing that pushes up against the thing. You just generally don't do that. I mean, you need to reform, maybe. I mean, who knows? Who knows what it's going to be? So yeah.
So, something else to consider too is Burt Rutan is no longer part of the team, so they're going to have to kind of redesign without his input.
Yeah,
I mean, he might help, but I don't know.
He's the one that. Well, actually, Dud, say what you were going to say before I go into that.
Sorry.
I had a point of curiosity. The feathers have all of the control surfaces on it, right?
I'm thinking of the vehicle. They come off on the booms, and then I think so, but
yeah, the ailerons are on the feathers.
Yeah. So they're under power. They unlock the feathers prematurely. I'm air quoting here. Here, wait.
There we go. Now we can see your air quote. Thank you.
Prematurely. and what if there was some pilot input or whatever where they had to suddenly pitch up or pitch down or whatever and with the boom unlocked, they're trying to change direction,
overcorrected too
quickly,
much,
and all the lift comes from the body, but not the feathers. So your controls are separated from your lift. That seems like a bad idea.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I think what it comes down to, which is what Doug and Ken were saying, which is why unlock at that point? Why are you unlocking at a speed and not an altitude, right? Because and it kind of made sense because you want to make sure you can unlock, but and if you can't, then abort before you get to a speed in which you cannot re-enter.
But I don't see why. I don't know anything about the mechanism itself, but unless it requires some strain or load in order to be able to unlock, I don't see why under relatively weightless conditions with very minimal airflow around the devices, why you wouldn't be able to unlock and then feather.
I think the concept is, I'm speculating. Let me clarify. I'm speculating. I think the reason why you would unlock while you're in powered flight, and fairly early in powered flight, is that you want to make sure you can unlock at all. Because if you get up to, let's just say you go through powered flight, right? And now you're up and you're essentially in a weightless condition, and now you unlock. You're also at a higher velocity at this point that needs to burn off when you come back down. You need to dissipate that somehow. And if you can't unlock now, you're going to break up. The structure can't take it. So if you unlock earlier and it can't unlock, it won't disengage, you could say, okay, terminate the engine, and you won't get up to that terminal velocity that would break the structure apart. That's my thought process. Otherwise, I kind of think the same thing, which is, why wouldn't you just wait till you're weightless and then unlock up there? But that's the only reason I can think of. There might be others.
The only thing that I could think of is that maybe the ailerons on the feathers don't work unless they unlock it. And Vax Headroom brought up a good point earlier in the show in the chat rooms. I need to go back and look at the last power test flight, because he brought up the point that he was pretty sure that they said, before they even ignited the rocket, that they were unlocking the feathers, even at that point. And that test was successful, so... maybe that was part of the plan. So I don't know. I don't know enough technical details about it to know whether or not the ailerons would work, whether or not it's unlocked or locked, and whether or not unlocking it at that point of the flight was standard procedure.
Yeah, that's the other thing we don't know. We don't know procedure. We don't know what the gauges said. We do not have enough information to come to any real conclusions. Dad says, my concern for Virgin Galactica increased dramatically upon learning the pilots and paying customers will not be in pressure suits. Something about the hatch not being large enough to fit people with pressure suits into the vehicle. Is that true? They're not in a traditional pressure suit.
They're in a sexy pressure suit.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so you've got a couple kinds of pressure suits, right? You have the EVA suits that you're used to seeing with astronauts. There is no way you're going to fit through the hatch in one of those. Those things are big. And you don't want to, that's not the experience you want in space. But then you've got the skin-tight pressure suits that basically they just apply pressure around your skin. It's the same thing that basically a pilot would use, an Air Force pilot on one of the multi-Mach vehicles. But what are your abort scenarios? Right? So in a fighter jet, your abort scenarios, you basically eject part of the cockpit and you've got this structure around you to help you come back down. You're not going to have that for 6 paying customers plus 2 pilots, right? I mean, how do you abort? You can't abort that. And you don't want to have an ejection system because that adds weight and it adds complexity and it adds a potential failure part to the pressure section itself. So...
just like the space shuttle.
Yeah, the space shuttle had no ejection. Well...
it sort of did,
the ending space shuttles had
and then they put it back and just...
Yeah, right. But really, when you look at the abort modes of the space shuttle, there were several moments where it was laughably bad. Like, it was an abort mode, right? So I think Virgin Galactic is going to be something different. Eduardo Lindenmeyer says, why pilots to test? And that's because Spaceship Two is not an autonomous vehicle. It does require pilots. I feel like you had something else to say, Mike, that we went to Dud, and then I think we're going to go back to you. I don't remember that.
If there was, I think I said all I needed to say, but if there was, but as far as like the spacesuits go, I bet a couple of those customers probably wouldn't even want to wear one anyways. I mean, you have people like Bieber and Lady Gaga who want to film music videos on their little 5-minute flight. So, well, it's a 2-hour flight, but 5 minutes of weightlessness. Right. But so I doubt that some of those characters would even comply with that, unless, of course, they absolutely had to. So, I don't know. It's a weird situation with that. When I first learned about Spaceship Two, I thought it was awesome, and believed all the hype that it was, 2 years away or months away.
We're 6 months away, Mike. 6 months away.
6 months away for the past 10 years.
6 months away. Yep. Well, no. So going back 3 years, we were a year away. It's only recently that we're 6 months away.
Mm-hmm. Well, 10 years ago, we were 10 years ago, we were 2 years away.
I remember what I was going to say now. This most recent accident, it seems like everyone forgot about the explosion back in 2007.
Yeah, so I was apprehensive to bring it up. It was apprehensive to bring it up because you didn't want to really point and be like, look at all the things you've done wrong. But yeah, I mean, the total... the total count at this point is 4 people dead from scaled composites. And it's important to understand the difference between scale, and that was one thing I wanted to talk to Doug and Ken about, and unfortunately we lost him. But there is a difference between Scaled Composites and Virgin Galactic and the Spaceship Company. These failures all happen under Scaled Composites watch. And what is it, nitrous oxide? Is that what we use?
Yep.
So, actually, Dada, you did a great job of explaining this to me. Why don't you explain to the group why nitrous oxide... So, why nitrous oxide is scary, and then I will explain why all rocket fuels are scary. So go ahead.
So, for those that don't know, one of my hobbies is amateur model rocketry, and we're not talking the little ones you buy at Michael's or Walmart or whatever, but we're talking some fairly big rockets. The methods of providing thrust for these rockets, we either use the solid fuels like similar to the space shuttle, and there's different formulations. You can get different flame colors or basically different energy concentrations in these different fuels, and the other is through hybrid rockets. And so they use a fuel grain, which is like a piece of polyvinyl chloride or nylon. Scaled Composites use rubber for Spaceship One, and in a separate chamber they store nitrous oxide in a volume, and in order to actually burn, the fuel has to be oxidized. So the fuel is inert by itself, and then you use the nitrous oxide sprayed on the flame front, if you will, to burn the fuel, and then that burns inside of a volume. You choke it down to create thrust, and you have a nozzle for expansion, etc. And in order to set these up, they put the rocket on the pad, and they have a fill tube, and they fill this chamber up with a volume of nitrous oxide. And the thing that scared me about the use of nitrous oxide is that its temperature and pressure are directly related. So you can't control pressure unless you control temperature. You can't control temperature unless you control pressure. And the accident in 2007 was held at 2 p.m. on a day that was like 115 degrees outside, and their testing said that they were trying to do a flow test at 75 degrees and 300 bar. And I don't have the link to the article here, but I found a chart that showed the pressure and temperature curve for nitrous oxide, and at 75 degrees, or at 300 bar, it would have to be 20 degrees Fahrenheit, and that doesn't jive with 75 degrees. And on a day that's 115 degrees outside, their 95 degree gas temperature would create a pressure of 1100 bar. So I don't necessarily think that they were working with the same unit or same measuring stick, if you will.
So, all right. So that's why basically nitrous oxide you need to keep at, summing it up, you need to keep at a very specific temperature. Otherwise, its pressure begins to increase or decrease depending upon its temperature. Is that a very basic way of summarizing that?
Yeah.
All right, great. So that's why it's scary because, for example, you roll White Knight 2 and Spaceship 2 out to the taxiway. You sit out there maybe for an hour waiting for clearance. As you're doing that, the temperature could be raising up, and you are creating more and more pressure in that tank. And that tank can only take so much pressure. And then you have to get into your flight sequence. That's going to be another, what is it? You guys remember, is it 2 hours up? Or no, it's an hour up, and then 5 minutes and an hour down?
Sounds about right.
Something like that? You guys remember?
Mm-hmm.
There's a profile somewhere online. It's something like, it's a 2 and a half hour flight.
Yeah, this one they took off at 9, 10, and it was shortly after 10 that they released.
Right, so that's where it gets scary. So you have to deal with keeping this at a fairly specific temperature range for a decent amount of time in the hot Nevada sun. And then if you're going to turn this into like an airline, you need to be able to do that in any climate, or at least any climate that you're going to fly in. So that's why that particular fuel is scary. But you know what? In reality, all rocket fuels are scary, if you're going to look at it that way. By the way, so is jet fuel. But rocket fuels are scarier because you bring the igniter, you bring the what am I trying to say? The fuel source itself RP1 or whatever it is. But then you bring the oxidizer with you. You bring the liquid oxygen. With an airplane, the oxidizer is the air outside the plane being sucked into the engines. Here, you are bringing liquefied oxygen, literally oxygen turned into liquid. And if anything, well, you know, we have footage of what happens when that fails. Duddy, would you like to roll that slow motion footage? That's what that looks like when that fails. It is epic. And when you see failures of engines or failures of rockets from the 60s, that's not it. That's a black screen. Anyhow, when you see failures of these engines from the 60s, they're these huge explosions. They're liquid, they're oxygen-rich combustion. That's what happens with the traditional rocket engine. So then you've got your third type. You've got hybrid engines, you've got liquid engines, and you have hybrid motors, liquid engines, and solid motors. So then you've got a solid motor. The best example of that failure I have two. So here's the liquid failure, right? So here's Antares going up. We have a turbo pump failing. There goes the turbo pump, most likely. Again, we're speculating, but that's the thought process. And then it looks like that. Imagine riding directly in front of that. You wouldn't want to. It's also very heavy. There are many reasons why liquids don't make sense for bringing customers up. And sometimes they do. It's all an engineering trade, right? It's all about the engineers. So then you've got solid motors. Now, solid motors, you cannot shut off, right? You commit to flight once they start. Take a look at the Delta II explosion that happened over Cape Canaveral when you have a solid motor fail. It is also an absolutely epic scene where it just is raining fire around the pad and it's just burning out cars and there's no way to put this fire out. That's the problem with solid. So everyone's criticizing scaled composites for this hybrid motor and saying, well, this doesn't make a lot of sense, but you know, it's easy to armchair rocket scientist this. I'm not sure I can come up with a motor that does work and lift that many people and isn't going to be highly potentially dangerous when a failure mode occurs. And by the way, as a reminder, wasn't the motor. Wait, there we go. Wasn't the motor. So, yeah, there you go. That's the end of my little thing. And actually, they brought up Challenger. Challenger was brought up in the chat room. Here's the thing with Challenger. That was not actually a solid fuel failure per se. That was a burn through. So what happened was, if this is the solid tank, or this is the solid, right, and you've got the external tank kind of sitting right here, there are these areas where they kind of have these O-rings where it combines everything, and it actually burned through one of the O-rings and started spitting fire out. This was not the first time that had happened, but it was the first time that the fire spit out, and it was pointed right at the truss that holds the solid motor and the external tank together. So now fire is burning into the support structure, and it burned right through the support structure, and then the tank bent, and immediately the aerodynamic integrity of the vehicle was compromised, and the vehicle basically, it essentially did the same thing that Spaceship Two did. It basically imploded. It just went thunk onto itself and just crumpled itself apart. And if you look, there isn't actually the huge giant explosion you would expect to just cut back to that screen. That's what a rocket explosion looks like. That's not what Challenger looked like. You did see a little bit of fire while some of the combustibles came into play, but that wasn't what it was. So I wouldn't actually classify that as a solid failure. That was more of a structural failure. So anyhow, hey.
Can we talk about the Russian engines for a minute that the Antares might possibly be using?
Yeah, the RD, what is it, 193s?
193, aka 181s. Yep. It's the same engine. Yeah. But something that's interesting is that Aerojet has the license from, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank on the name of the company. Anyway, the Russian company that produces it, they have a license from them to produce that engine domestically. And Aerojet has already done lots of science and lots of work of modifying that to their own uses instead of just building new NK-33s or new RD-180s. So their whole thing is they're calling the AR-1 or Aerojet Rocketdyne 1. But then, you know, not a month after they started publicly releasing that, Blue Origin said, oh, we're teaming up with Lockheed to do the same thing. So there's two options there of something domestic that they could use. But they already have worked on stuff with the Russians to start getting the RD-193s over temporarily. And also to note that the whole turbo pump thing is very different than the turbo pumps that we're used to here in the States, because the turbo pumps on the NK-33s are in a closed loop system. They are a part of the pre-chamber. They're not external like a lot of the other rockets that the American space program is more familiar with. And brilliant technology. That saved so much weight, so much fuel, and was why these tiny little NK-33s can produce so much thrust.
It's also
awesome.
They pre-combust it, don't they? Dada, do you guys know? It's pre-combustion engine, right? Where they're not taking the liquids, they're actually turning it to gaseous form first, if I remember right.
I don't
Right. And we do that too, but we have exhausts for all the bleed off. And what I meant by closed loop system is they do that, and normally in like the engines that were on the old Atlas rocket before we started using the RD-180s, that had, and you could see the kind of exhaust pipes that they had, where they would exhaust out all the bleed off because of making sure that they didn't upset the whole pressure and temperature ratio that they needed to have it at. But the closed loop system, by having the turbo pump inside of the pre-chamber, allowed them to be able to recycle all of the liquid and keep it at the right temperature and the right pressure without having to have any sort of bleed off. So that made them way more efficient than anything we had.
So we actually had a technical glitch, and we were off the air for a moment. We got most of what you said, just so you know. I did want to let the chat room know. Chris Radcliffe said, "Now I wonder how live this live stream is." I'm just reading that, so you know this actually is a live stream again, as opposed to an on-demand stream. So yeah, U5KO is asking us to play what is it, Ambition, and I have yet to convert that into a playable format because I'm a terrible human being. So U5KO, email me or text me or something before next week's show, and I'll convert it, and we'll get it ready for that one. The problem is it's really long and it takes a while to convert.
Here's a live Mark.
Really?
Well, anyway, guys, I think I need to get going, but this has been a lot of fun, and, well, I shouldn't say fun because of all these disasters, but anyway, I enjoy being able to talk about this stuff, and I'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking time out of your Saturday to join us, Mike. It was awesome, and it was. You can go. I'm just gonna let people know that I basically threw this on him at the last minute, and he still figured out how to make it happen. So yeah, we appreciate that because that's my MO, right? I'm like, by the way, can you do something in 5 minutes? And you're like, ah.
2 minutes later, yes, I can. Yes, I can.
All right, thanks, Mike.
All right, well, I'll see you guys later then.
Yeah,
Bye.
absolutely. And live enough is not live enough, Chris. I waited to say that. That's not fair. Live enough. Ugh. To Wicked. That's hilarious. Okay, I can take my earpiece out. Ow. Ugh. I still need to do an open, don't I?
Yes, you do.
I don't think we're going to get Carrie Ann back. I haven't got a text message from her yet. Oh, Rad Surfer, correct. Do not confuse Coordinated Universal Time with British Standard Time. They are very different, and BST changes its time, and it slides in and out of UTC. So if you change your clock, you are not UTC. And I've had this argument before with people, and I am right. So, nah.
Reykjavik, Iceland.
Correct. It was for Heldesk. That's correct. It was 2100 UTC 1 hour ago. If you changed your clock, the showtime changed for you. If you did not change your clock, actually, I believe Space Mike did not change his clock. He's in MST, and I think he was always in MST. Then the showtime does not change for you. Isn't it British Standard Time, or is it British Summertime? Hang on. I can... BST time zone.
I was having
British summertime. I'm sorry. You're right. Say that again, Dada.
I was having trouble finding a time zone that I could put into my calendar so that I could have a UTC-based reminder about the show.
I just set my Google Calendar to UTC.
For some reason, I don't have that option.
Do you have GMT?
Yes, and the place that I found was Reykjavik, Iceland. They do not adjust for time zones.
There you go. It's so. Yeah, Google may not have UTC, which is weird because OS 10 and Microsoft Windows both default to UTC now, right? So if you want to say 00, it basically got rid of GMT and they say UTC. So figure that out. Yeah, it's just actually, if you look at my watch, I have a mechanical Speedmaster Pro because it's the Apollo thing, right? That's what they wore on the moon. So I have a Speedmaster Pro and I have it set to UTC-ish. The thing is, technically UTC is atomic time, and so you never actually know. Ironically, you never know what time it is right now in UTC. I can tell you what time it was 2 weeks ago, but not right now. So it's UTC-ish in that it's accurate to plus or minus like 10 seconds on my watch because it's a mechanical watch. But I try to keep it fairly good. Did we crash again?
I don't know.
I'm checking. Someone says they have no video. You should have video. I show we're still up. You know, we should do everything in spacecraft event time, which is whatever time zone I choose to make it for where I'm at.
Yeah, that Dnepr launch video didn't go.
Dan, why do you keep missing the show? Don't miss the show. Here's one easy way to not miss the show is, although you said you already got the email alerts, is if you, on live stream, if you just follow us, you can get an email alert when we publish the show and then when the show's about to go live. B-E-T, Benjamin Elapsed Time. Nice. I love that. That's awesome. Bencredible Event Time. I like that one too.
The only problem with that time zone is that it's nap time like 3/4 of the time.
It is nap time 3/4 time. I like a tomorrow meantime or TMT. That's good. You know, next time I'm in Florida, I need to carve out a little bit of time and have anyone who's, because we got a bunch of you that are Florida. By the way, is Vax still in the room? Oh, Vax is still in the room. Vax, I know that you're doing a lot of stuff for the publication that you were there for as Real Press. If that's something you like doing, maybe we can get you into other events as Tomorrow Press, because we are still technically press accredited. So if that's something else that someone else thinks, because Vax, I love your videos. Your little like shout outs to Tomorrow and the Dutta. Are you gonna fly? You got it. I'm not paying to fly you down there.
Damn it.
Yeah. Rocket stem. Thank you. I don't know what U5KO is referring to. By the way, this is something I brought up before, but I'm going to ask the question again because I've been testing things and seeing when I could be done with show pre-production and when I'd be ready to go on the air. And consistently, even when Carrie Ann wasn't here and we were struggling, even with last week's show, I believe, we could go on the air at 10 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. So that's 1900 UTC. So 10 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Mountain, 12 noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Does anyone like that time better? Or is that worse? Should I just leave it? The reason I'm thinking of making it earlier is then maybe I get some of my Saturday back. And maybe you guys get some of your Saturday back too. But up to you. I mean, this is your show. So you tell me what the best time is. And I know I've just opened a can of worms. Oh, Grey Knight, if you can hear it but you can't see it and you only have a 5 meg download stream, make sure you're not trying to watch it in HD. That alone will absorb your entire stream, so downgrade the quality. It could also be an overlay issue, so if you've got multiple monitors, try moving your monitor. If you're using Windows and you're using DirectX and you have multiple monitors, try moving it to the other monitor. Windows. I say that as I'm looking at a Windows tablet. And Dado, what do you think of 10 a.m.? Because, I mean...
I don't know. That's currently snuggle time, so...
All the time is snuggle time.
This is true.
Wait, is that our snuggle time? Whose snuggle time is... I don't understand. When's our snuggle time?
You know, I wasn't going to talk about that, but...
Yeah.
It's the only time I get when Carrie Ann goes in for her nap that we can be together.
So I'm missing half of what... Sweetie Pie. Yeah, so everyone's saying... Oh, yeah, to Wicked, that 3D printing a lunar base. I almost thought of adding that to the show as well, but it's a 5-minute clip, and that's like half of one of our segments. By the way, did our show run short today? I was having a hard time with my clock. It felt like it ran short, but I also didn't have anyone...
I got 41 minutes.
Oh, all right. Well, that's actually right on the mark. So never mind. Coordinated snuggle time, CST. I love that.
Yes.
That is awesome. Yes. Also, I get my pen. I'm super happy that I get my pen that I can point. If you watched, I had it like in my hand, and I was. But I do kind of like my lean forward. I like this camera shot where I got the one arm out, I'm leaning forward, and I have the screen behind me. I feel like this is a good shot.
And you didn't like it initially.
I didn't?
No.
I could see that. Because I'm flippy floppy like that.
You are.
Also, I think I've told you, Dada. If not, you're going to learn this in real time. I'm actively looking for studio space in the area. So I'm looking at a warehouse or like 1,000 square feet or larger space that we can permanently put the show. So we can do more than just the weekend show. Hopefully we'll be able to do better launch coverage and stuff like that. But also have a permanent set that's a little bit better than this and a place that we can bring guests in live a little bit better than what we're doing here. It doesn't look that bad on camera, but it is a little bit hard to bring guests in and have them sit down. Like if I wanted to bring in George Whitesides, CEO of Virgin Galactic, he would understand, but it's still not quite as credible as having an actual space. And we're at the point where there's enough Patreon funds where I think we can afford to do it, and it will solve a few things. I think we'll be able to continue to fix up some audio, get some better lights. I want to get some LED lights and stuff like that. So that's my plan for Season 8, although I don't know that we'll have it in place by Season 8 because here's the trick. I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea how to do business real estate like this. So... yeah, by the way, if any of you are in the U.S. or specifically California and have leased a business space and can tell me things to watch out for or things to know or things to do, I would greatly appreciate that because I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just winging it. I figured I'm halfway intelligent. I can figure this out. But I always appreciate comments and feedback as to gotchas and whatnot. A Top Gear style space show. I don't know. The problem with Top Gear is that they're not actually a car news show. It's a comedy show about cars. So...
they've got a news segment.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Sort of. I mean, it's a fun show. And, you know, I don't think it would necessarily be bad to have that in addition to this show, maybe with different people. But, yeah. You know?
Am I going to be James May?
Are you James May? I don't know. I think we're all James May.
How technologically boring do you need to be in a space show to be James May?
A comedy space show. Yeah, I mean, you know, build your own rocket kind of thing. Have fun. The Delta IV Heavy.
I've got a whole slew of people we could contact for that.
So Chris Radcliffe says he'd rather have a QI-style space quiz show. That's not a bad idea. That would kind of be fun. You got to have kind of like the regular... but, Chris, you'd have to be a regular on it. There's the only problem.
I like Romero's comment.
Ooh.
Try to get a celebrity into suborbit.
In suborbit? Oh, God! We'd have to call.
Let's see how you do in our reasonably priced rocket.
A reasonably priced rocket. Instead of the Stig, who would we have?
Oh, God.
Yeah, I know. Come on, chat room. Don't let me down. Oh, Chris, you would no.
You'd have like a Doctor Who like ominous figure in a spacesuit that you could never see into.
Space janitors, that was it. Yeah.
Da-da.
The knot. Instead of the Stig, it's the knot.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a good one. Jimmy, that's all right. Spaceman, nah. Mini-Me, nah.
Aww.
Vax Head Stig. Vax, I love your segments, by the way. If I haven't said that enough in email, I love your segments. I think they're fun. I'll especially love... And you know what? I'm going to challenge the entire community. Vax is the only one doing this. When you go out to events, if you're at a Space Up, get a group of people together at the Space Up and give a shout out to TMRO and Space Up, right? Promote the thing you're at, right? But give a shout out to this community of TMRO.
And it doesn't have to be a high quality camera. Do a cell phone selfie video.
A selfie video is just fine. It can be low quality. I do not care. Excuse me. I do not care. What is that? Oh my God! That is a TARDIS Entertainment Center. Benjamin Stiggenbotham. So yeah, Vax is the only one doing them right now, and they're awesome. And I will not make the mistake of saying that you were at the social media event again. In all fairness, though, the reason I said that is in the background, I saw some of the social media people, so you must have been right next to them, right? I mean, you must have been mingling. And they don't always do that at the press site. Usually they kind of draw a line at Kennedy Space Center. They're like, the dirty, dirty social media people go over here, and the horrible, horrible press people go over here, because they don't like either. But at Wallops Island, for all I know, they just combine them all, and they're like, you guys are awesome! Patrick wants us to hire George Takei. Oh my. Have George Takei on our QI show.
I think we should have a segment called Beat Buzz, where you have to beat him in trivia or some sort of activity related to space.
Or get punched by him.
Yeah.
Beat Buzz. Multiple.
Well, no, that's what happens if you don't beat Buzz. Is he punches you.
Beat Buzz or get beaten by Buzz. So anyhow, Vax, that is why I thought it was a social media event. I didn't realize you were actually pressed. Pressed? Is that a thing? Is that a word? I mean, it's a word, but whatever. So you get the idea. Buzz Aldrin arm wrestling. I don't know. I'm afraid I'd break him. I've seen him at some of the AIAA meetings here in Los Angeles, and he's looking more frail these days.
Celebrity Tomorrow Squares.
All right, now that Grey Knight has video, I think it's time for us to wrap up. What? I'm evil. What do you want?
Vax, that's a pleasure very few enjoy.
That's true. That's true. Oh, hey, is Colton here? Space Kickcast, is he here?
Don't know.
I'm gonna wait awkwardly while we go through delay.
Still trying to.
So Johnny Boy says Google Hangouts with astronauts. Here's the problem with astronauts. Once you put a camera in their face, they go immediately on script to what PAO, the public affairs officers, have trained them to say. And you get the same exact bland, boring stuff out of them every time. The moment you get them off the camera and away from the lens, and even like 10 feet away, even something as simple as like the table with the food, with the buffet table, completely different people. They're freaking hilarious. They have great stories. They're fun to talk to, and you cannot get that out of them on the air. Mike Massimino is probably the closest, and even then, it's not quite the same. And it drives me absolutely bonkers when that happens. And I have... The best examples of that we have, I think, were from our space shuttle coverage, where, I mean, that's what happened. We were doing the coverage, and then they walk over there, and then it was just a different person. Or what we need to do is make it so that they think they're on camera and then bring them over to the buffet table and think that they're off camera, but actually still have everything rolling. At which point we would never get another interview again.
Yes, Colton. Colton is in the room.
Oh, Colton is in the room? Oh, there he is. All right, Colton, if you don't mind, and if you're still doing it, after each show, is it possible to have it automatically email me the log of the chat room? Or do you have, could you just email me the link because I've forgotten it on where I can get the archive? That way, in the After Dark on Patreon, in After Dark, what I'll do is I'll just paste the chat room log so people can actually have some sort of reference to what's going on until we're able to put things on the screen. Because I think in After Dark we should put things back on the screen. The buzz, actually, if I remember right, according to Vax, that's what attracted him to us in the first place. And oh, is he attracted. Is that we were willing to put the stuff on the bottom of the screen, and we continued that until 4chan. And then we stopped because 4chan. Patrick, 42H. So, anyhow, there you go. I think I need to do an open, and then I think we can call this a show. What do I want to do here for the open? 20-minute show? What? No. Patrick, did you set your clock back an hour? Did you forget? The show is always at 2100 UTC, and UTC does not honor daylight saving time. So, if you changed your clock an hour, the time of the show changed for you as well. Zigger, I'm not sure if 4chan... I'm sure 4chan has moved past us, but I'm sure once they find us again, they, yeah. I'm sure they would crash the chat again, and then we just have to take it back off. So it needs to be moderated. And we were working on it. We're working on that. But, yeah, it needs to be moderated. Helldesk. That's exactly correct. The ex-astronauts who no longer care, or, you know, they're not part of PAO, those are the guys who give you the great stories. Because they... Right? I mean, they have nothing to protect anymore. All right, what am I doing? I'm doing an open here. Dun, 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 dun. All right, ready? I'll just do it over here. I don't have to do anything special, do I? No, I need to move this. Continuity. So says Carrie Ann.
Get rid of your pen if you're doing it. You can do that. Get rid of your pen if you're going for continuity.
I have to what?
Get rid of your pen.
That's right. You saw me leave and get it, didn't you?
I did. I even muted your mic and everything.
Halfway through the show. So, here's what's happening. What was Space Mike on at the time?
Yeah, Mike was doing his SpaceX news.
So Space Mike was on, and I'm listening to what he's saying, and I have nothing to fidget with, and it's driving me bonkers that I have nothing to fidget with. So I'm tapping my foot, I'm spinning the chair, and I look over, and I see the pen for the Microsoft Surface, and I'm like, oh, pen for Microsoft Surface, thing to fidget with. Carrie Ann always takes it away from me before the show and puts it over on the counter. Well, she had actually gotten smart and put it like way, way away so that I never actually grabbed it before the show anymore, and then I got distracted by shiny objects. So he's doing his thing, and I look over and I see the pen, so I actually like, Space Mike is on the air talking about whatever, and I do this. I go, and I just leave. I get the pen, and then I kind of do this. I'm like,
yeah, you were much more stealthy and sneaky and trying to be quiet than that.
Yeah. All right. Coming up. I need to get rid of that. Continuity is stupid. All right, this is number one. Number one. Numero uno. Coming up, a rocket launch, a turbo pump, and a amazing attempt at a landing. Plus, we bring back... That's a wrap. Make it so! Ah! Oh, the cup needs to be on my left? Was it over here? Yeah, it was. Two. Coming up, a rocket launch, a turbo pump, and Filet is it Filet?
Yes.
Filet? Filet?
Filet.
Filet. All right. 3. Coming up, a rocket launch, a turbo pump, and Filet is getting ready to land. Plus, we bring on Doug and Ken to talk about the NTSB findings from Spaceship Two. Stay tuned. Tomorrow begins right now. I'm looking at you, Internet. How's that?
Good. I need to get like a screen capture or something from the beginning of the show so that we can.
Did I say it right? Filet? Filet. Filet, right? I said it right on the second one, right?
Sure.
Filet. And then the only edit I need to do is roll that video in that didn't roll. The Nepner launch. Nepner.
Yeah, I don't think it encoded correctly or something.
Yeah, it could be. Likely.
Nepner.
Nepner. It's Nepner launch. The outtakes at the end. I don't know, or you can just have to watch After Dark. Well, here's a secret, guys. You probably have DVR, and so someone is going backwards in time right now and grabbing that screen cap. Yep. I could have also done incoming transmission. Anything else? Are we done? Internet, are we done? Internet, you decide if we're done.
I got nothing.
The producer double plus. Oh my god, that hurts my head.
And Chris, what is the monetary level there?
Yeah, what is that? It was because you've got Premiere above producer, so it'd be like, let's see here, Premiere's 10, producer's 5, so it'd be like $7.18.
Damn. Gotta get to that $7.18 level.
Yeah, I hope you guys all had fun, and as always, comments are welcome. Benjamin at TMRO.tv. Other things that you want to see us doing, more interviews. I've got some interview. People have emailed me with interviews ideas. Most of them are very, very good, so I'm putting them in work. $100 per show. Oh man. Could I repeat the show? You missed it. Yes, actually, with your DVR, if you slide it backwards. Actually, no, because we had a failure in After Dark, so you can only go back to that part. Yep, I think we're done. Dada! Shut her down. Thanks, everyone. See you next week. Ka-cha! Hello? Hello? Who turned off all the lights? I have no idea if they can still hear me.